What do you think about the comparisons that have been made about you and with Prince and people like Michael Jackson?
In 1987, a man stepped onto the world stage. People wondered if he'd be the next Prince, while he claimed he'd be bigger than the Beatles. His name was Terence Trent D'Arby. He sold millions, won awards, challenged the system, but when he stopped playing their game, the industry turned its back. And by the mid-90s, he had disappeared. On purpose. This isn't just the rise and fall, it's a story about ego, exile, and starting over with a new name. Before the headlines, before the stage lights, before the name became something to escape, there was just a kid, raised on military bases, moving from place to place, watching the world through windows that never stayed the same. His real name wasn't Terence Trent D'Arby, it was Terence Trent Howard, and he wasn't born famous. He built that name, like a shield. He studied boxing, sang in churches, got stationed in Germany with the US Army, then walked off base to go chase something even bigger. By the time he showed up in London, he already knew he wanted to be seen. He wasn't trying to make it, he was trying to be immortal. And for a moment, it looked like he was about to pull it off. London, 1987. No one really knew where he came from. He just appeared. Braids, army jacket, voice like an old soul, eyes like he knew something you didn't. He walked into the British pop scene like it was beneath him, and somehow, that made people listen. The label didn't know what to do with him. He wasn't safe. He spoke like a prophet and performed like a prize fighter. And then, Introducing the Hardline dropped his first album. Suddenly, his name was everywhere. Posters, radio, TV, Vogue. Women fainted at shows. Men called him arrogant. But everybody kept watching. And for a moment, it felt like something new had arrived. Something loud and impossible to ignore. For months, it was non-stop. He was headlining shows off of one album. He wasn't opening for anyone. He wasn't waiting his turn. People who had never heard of him a year before were now dressing like him, talking like him, arguing about him. One week, he was on the cover of Rolling Stone. The next, he was on late-night TV, saying things no PR person could have approved. He didn't thank the machine, he challenged it. And the more confident he got, the more uncomfortable everyone else seemed to get. But here's the thing, he wasn't wrong. The music really was that good, and the performances were really that raw. And the attention, he didn't steal it, he earned it. For a little while, it looked like the impossible had happened. He said he was a genius, and the world didn't push back. They clapped. By the early 90s, things were already slipping. His second album, Neither Fish Nor Flesh, came out in 1989. It was strange, dense, philosophical. No clear singles, no dance tracks, no compromises. He thought he was pushing music forward. The label thought he was throwing it all away. And the reviews were brutal. Radio wouldn't touch it. Retailers pulled it off the shelves in under a week. And just like that, he went from voice of a generation to pretentious, unmarketable, and difficult. The fallout was slow and humiliating. MTV stopped calling. The festival invites disappeared. Magazine covers dried up. Even interviews were rare. People who used to beg for access now pretended that he didn't exist. He wasn't banned. He was ignored. He started getting labeled unstable, not because he had a public breakdown, but because he wouldn't play along. He refused to smile on cue, refused to tone it down, refused to say what they needed him to say to keep the machine running. And the machine, it started spitting him out. Tour budgets got slashed, venues pulled out, one cancellation led to another, and promoters stopped answering the phone. The industry didn't tell him he was done directly, it just stopped acknowledging he existed. Suddenly, the same world that once called him a genius acted like they never knew his name, and he felt it. Not just career death, but character assassination. Because when an artist falls in public, the industry doesn't catch them, it buries them. And Terence, he started to believe it, that maybe they were right, that maybe he'd said too much, or flown too close, or wasn't enough after all. And that's when the spiral began. During those years in exile, while the industry moved on without him, Terence was unraveling behind the scenes. He didn't say much publicly, but privately, he was breaking. The silence, the rejection, the humiliation, it all caught up. He'd built an identity out of confidence, declared himself a genius, said he'd change the world, and now, no one was listening. The pressure cracked something open. He started having visions, intense dreams, out-of-body experiences, He called it a spiritual awakening, or maybe it was ego death, and what came out the other side wasn't Terence Trent D'Arby anymore. He said the name had been a lie, a marketing costume, a role he played so well it nearly killed him. And so, he let it go. He buried the name, and in its place, he chose another. Sananda Maitreya, a name given to him in a dream, a name he said reflected who he really was, not a performer, not a product, but something else entirely. And with that, Terence Trent D'Arby disappeared. Since the mid-90s, he's lived outside of the spotlight, moved countries, with no label, no chart placement, and no mainstream coverage. But that doesn't mean he stopped creating. As Sananda Maitreya, he's released over 10 albums, self-written, self-produced, and self-distributed. No features, no hype, no gatekeepers. He records from his home studio in Milan and uploads everything directly to his website. No Spotify rollouts, no viral campaigns. Just music, as if the world is still listening. Even if it isn't. He writes songs about God, love, betrayal, reincarnation. Sometimes it sounds like soul, sometimes rock, sometimes like a man still trying to make sense of what happened. He still gives interviews, but rarely, and when he does, it's clear. He hasn't forgotten, and he hasn't forgiven. He calls the music industry a graveyard, says they try to destroy him, says Terence Trent D'Arby was a sacrificial lamb. He doesn't want the fame back, he just wants the narrative back. He wants the truth to be told. So, what exactly did happen to Terence Trent D'Arby? Was it ego? Was it the industry? Was it both? He came in too bold, too early, and too honest. He didn't want to play the game. He talked back to it. And the moment he stopped delivering what they expected, he pulled the plug. No one called it a takedown. They never do. They just stopped saying his name. And maybe that's the cruelest part. Not the fall, but the forgetting. But here's the thing. He's still here, not chasing hits, not trying to be anyone's idol, still making music, and living under a name the world refuses to say out loud, still fighting to own his story. And if you ask him, he'll tell you. Terence Trent D'Arby didn't disappear. He was erased. He could have easily chased the comeback. He could have played the nostalgia circuit and rebranded, collaborated, and made peace with the machine. But he didn't. He chose silence. He chose exile. He chose truth at the cost of everything else. And maybe that's why the story feels unfinished, because it's not a comeback story. It's a rebirth story. The kind they never tell.